Resurrection isn't just some mystical thing that happens. It's an ordinance of the gospel, which means you have to be a participant in the ordinances of the gospel to then have access to resurrection. So while it is universal and offered freely, the individual has to accept it. And if they don't, then there may be a delay in when they have access to that resurrection and when that will happen.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It really clarifies, because we do, in our simplicity, we do teach that the grace and the atonement of Christ is so amazing that resurrection is offered to, or we normally say is provided to all, is given to all, right? But that being said, everything in the gospel is predicated on agency and people's willingness to accept and participate in what's being offered. And in this case,
does that mean God's going to resurrect you against your will if you don't want to be?
Of course not.
Well, okay. So if God's a respecter of agency, so we can't preach that all will be resurrected guarantteed.
But all will be offered that.
So it is available to all.
Yes,
all have the ability to obtain it.
That appears to me, that seems to be the more accurate way to truly discuss and talk about it.
Not the preach my gospel way.
Well, I'm not going to argue against preach my gospel, man. I'm not going to argue against that.
We're a little bit outside of established doctrine at this point.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, it definitely seems that agency applies even to this phase. So look at what do we preach about the premortal life? Well, there are those spirits who, through their agency, rejected the path that would lead them to receiving a body. Even though there was a plan that would freely give it to them. Okay, but they rejected it. They didn't want that. So, is that not a type? Is that not a symbol of the very experience we're in now? That we're being taught a plan that's presenting us an option to receive a certain body. And there are those who, for whatever reason, are not interested in that. It does not appeal to them. They do not choose it. Okay, so clearly for them, there is a delay in receiving that body. So in this case, we're talking about like this last resurrection. Well, that's well after the millennium. Like that, it only begins after the millennial reign, and I don't think there's any reference to how long that process extends. But if the punishment of God is eternal, it could well extend into future eternities. But again, that's going to be predicated upon the agency of those individuals and whether or not, and the timeline in which they accept the principles and ordinances of the gospel of Christ. Cool to think about. It's cool just to think about, like, there's actually doctrine, very, very soft, subtle doctrine in here that really teaches about the resurrection beyond the first resurrection. This is very interesting to ponder on. But we don't want everlasting fire. Let's not set that as our goal.
Hit that like button, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it.
They may seem like little things, but liking, commenting, it helps the algorithm push our content out to more people. So it's our small way of sharing the gospel in a social media age.